Luciano suddenly collapsed into the chair, his breathing short and heavy. In front of him, David watched him terrified, immobilized in his wheelchair. But what happened next changed everything. Before you find out how this story ends, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. But now, enjoy. Luciano had always tried to face life with dignity, even in the most difficult moments. Now elderly, he lived in a small farmhouse in the mountains, far from the hustle and bustle of the city. He loved that solitude, the company of the trees and the fresh air that greeted him every morning as he left the house. At his side there was always Nico, his faithful dog, now as old as him, but still able to make him smile with his unconditional affection. Their bond was something special, built over the years, and now they were inseparable. Luciano had lived a life full of ups and downs. After his military service, he settled in the city, found a job in a factory, and met the woman of his life, with whom he shared every moment until the disease took her away, leaving him alone. Since that day, his existence had become more difficult, yet he had never let it get him down. He had decided to leave the apartment in the city to his daughter and take refuge in the tranquility of the countryside. His days passed slowly, marked by silence, interrupted only by the sound of the wind in the trees. But despite the calm that surrounded him, Luciano could not help but worry about the future. His pension was not enough to cover all the expenses, especially with Nico, who, now old, needed specific care and special food. So day after day, he began looking for small jobs to make ends meet, without success. No one seemed willing to hire a man of his age, especially when he found himself competing with young, energetic people. One morning, while he was looking at the job ads for the umpteenth time, he found one that left him perplexed. Grandfather wanted for child. It was strange, yes, but desperation pushed him to try that path too. He picked up the phone and called the number indicated. A female voice answered the other end of the line, introducing herself as Amelia. They arranged to meet that same afternoon. Amelia arrived promptly at Luciano's house. She was a woman who, with her presence, emanated a palpable strength and determination. With her, there was also a driver, who, however, remained outside. Luciano welcomed her kindly, offering her tea and biscuits. While they sipped, Amelia observed every detail of the house, as if she wanted to understand something more about the man in front of her. After some small talk, the conversation became more serious. Amelia told her story. She was a single mother, and her 9-year-old son, David, was paralyzed after a traumatic event. 3 years earlier, Amelia's mother, who was helping raise the little boy, had died suddenly of a heart attack right in front of the child. From that moment on, David was unable to walk again. Doctors were divided. Some believed that with the right emotional push he could walk again. Others instead thought that he would remain in a wheelchair forever. Amelia was desperately looking for someone who could be a father figure, or rather, a grandfather to her son. He needs someone who understands him, who has lived and learned from life, someone who can give him the strength that I alone cannot give him, she said with shining eyes. Luciano, moved by her words and touched by the pain of that mother, could not help but accept the job offer. From that day on, every afternoon, the driver would pick up Luciano and take him to Amelia and David's house. The moment Luciano and David met, they immediately created a special connection. David, with his big, curious eyes, listened fascinated to the stories that Luciano told him about his days in the war, his youthful adventures, the simple but important things in life. In a short time, the two became inseparable. As the weeks passed, Luciano saw David blossom. The child, who initially seemed gloomy and resigned to his fate, began to smile again between stories and games. Thus, David began to enjoy life again, even if tied to his wheelchair. Amelia couldn't believe what she was seeing. Her son was finding his lost serenity thanks to that man she, in a moment of desperation, had decided to contact. Things seemed to be going well until one evening everything changed. It was a Saturday, and David was spending the night at Luciano's house, as he often did now. As they were getting ready for dinner, Luciano began to feel ill. He sat down heavily in the armchair and asked David to bring him medicine from the bathroom. "Don't worry, it's nothing serious," he said with a tired smile. David, worried, did as he was asked, but as he returned to the living room with the medicine in his hand, he saw Luciano motionless in the armchair, his head tilted back. David's heart raced. With a desperate cry, he called Luciano, but without thinking twice, he got up from his wheelchair and ran toward him. If you're passionate about the story, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next exciting events. Thanks for the support. David, without even realizing it, had managed to do what doctors thought was impossible: walk again. He approached Luciano, terrified of losing him, but just then, the man slowly opened his eyes. "David, stand up," he whispered, his voice broken by emotion. David looked at his legs in disbelief before staggering slightly. Luciano, ready, grabbed him and helped him take his first steps. Together, they walked across the room, holding each other up, as if life had granted them an unexpected miracle. When Amelia arrived to pick up her son, she found him standing next to Luciano. Tears filled her eyes, without needing to say anything. The miracle she had hoped for had come true.